Let us pray. Lord God, we thank you that your Son, Jesus Christ, came among us as one who serves. That through his actions and his words, we have been taught a nobler way to lead. Grant your wisdom to all in places of authority in this and every land. They may know your will, and keeping always before their minds the needs of others, may discover that in serving them, they are serving you. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
The meeting held on Monday, 17th of February 2025, Friday, 8th August 2025, Tuesday, 12th of August 2025, and Friday, 22nd August 2025 to be confirmed. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The question is that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed. Minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday, 16 September 2025 to be deferred. Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the aforesaid minutes be deferred.
Question is that the aforementioned minutes be deferred. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby deferred.
Announcements by Your Honour, Mr. Speaker.
I wish to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Secretary General of the CPA and his wife, Jarvis Mataya, who's present in this honourable chamber.
Messages from Her Excellency the President, petitions, papers, government notices, private members' notices, notices of questions, reports from select committees, first readings of bills, statements by ministers, congratulatory and/or obituary speeches, personal explanations, motions for leave of absence, oral replies to questions, notices of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public importance, orders of the day.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the suspension of standing orders 6, 16, 18, 20, 42 subsection 5, 43, and 44 for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Seconder. The question is that the aforementioned standing orders be suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. The aforementioned standing orders are hereby suspended for the remainder of the day's sitting.
Government business, sir.
Government business is the order of the day.
Order number 8, in the name of the Honourable Minister of Home Affairs and Information, to move the second reading of the Caribbean Community Free Movement of Nationals Bill 2025.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to, I guess, formally introduce and debate the aforesaid bill. And this, to me, is an exceedingly proud moment. I have, for all my life, been an advocate and a proponent of full Caribbean integration. I was blessed to have gone to the University of the West Indies, KFL campus, back in the days when the campuses specialized. So Barbados at the time would have had the jurisdiction over law, Jamaica would have had the purview of medicine, and Trinidad would have been responsible for engineering. And by virtue of the specialization, sir, any student in the Caribbean wishing to study law had to find themselves in Barbados to do so. So you were in class with people from Jamaica, Trinidad, Antigua, Dominica, Belize, Bahamas, everybody bringing their own perspective. Campus was a melting pot. And by virtue of that experience, sir, it's put me in a fantastic position. Wherever I travel in the Caribbean, I could pick up the phone and call somebody and say, I coming in, meet me at the airport. Or I come in, I want some place to stay. So I have friendships and relationships throughout the entire Caribbean. And that has made the Caribbean a special place for me. I was the president of the Barbados Bar Association at the time of the inauguration of the CCJ. And we would have worked to doing that, to establishing formally the entity that recognized our particular jurisprudence and recognized that we could no longer look to the Queen at the time and to Great Britain to have the final word in our own affairs. And it was a good day. It was a good day to recognize independence, to recognize a mutual contribution to the growth of something even bigger. So Barbados had its layers. We had the Magistrates Court, we had the High Court, we had the Court of Appeal. But then, for final decisions, we had to go to the Privy Council, which was inaccessible to us. We adopted the CCJ at the time, along with some others in its final appellate jurisdiction, but also with the entire of CARICOM in the original jurisdiction of the CCJ. And it felt good that day, sir. It felt good to know that we were a part of something bigger. We were part of something special. We were part of something that contemplated the coming together of the entire Caribbean. Actually, sir, a lot of people may not know this. I was one of the persons who was instrumental in drafting the mission statement for the CCJ. So when you go into the CCJ and you see the mission statement up on the wall, right, then please bear in mind that one of your own had a hand in drafting it. Now, sir, all that to provide a context. All that to provide an umbrella. All that to establish that what we're doing is nothing new. Sir, the Honourable Prime Minister, actually before you get to that, why are we here anyway? Why are we actually doing it? What is in the cards for Barbados? We in Barbados, it is acknowledged by everybody, we are facing a population crisis. We have a declining population. Our death rates are outstripping our birth rates. And we have an aging population. What does that mean going forward? That means going forward it's hard to plan. It's hard to plan for the development of Barbados. It's hard to plan for the children that are being born. It's hard to plan our social sector. It's hard to plan our housing sector. It's hard to plan the collection of taxes, what the tax regimes look like. It is hard to plan what Barbados will look like. We have also accepted, so I know exactly where my speech is going to drift into controversial, and we're not there yet. I think we have all accepted that we cannot get the population boost necessary to sustain Barbados by natural means. The analogy was drawn that if, it was a priest who said it, sir, if every Barbadian of legal age went home tonight and set about the business of having some children, the best we could hope for is a bump in terms of contribution to our economy in 18 years. So if even we all started working assiduously on growing the population through natural means, well, you may have a lot of kids running around in a couple of years, a lot of children running. Yes, sir, let's not drift to the analogy of introduce goats and sheep. We would have a lot of children running around Barbados in a very short space of time. We will have increased population in the schools. We will have to do increased programs for children. But the financial benefit and input into the economy that will sustain those exact same children, you're not going to see it for another 18 years when they actually become a part of the workforce. So I think everybody's accepted. The population review, the census, has pointed us in the direction that, yes, we have a crisis. I think right now, everybody in Barbados accepts that there is a crisis. So I think we're all on common ground up to this point in time. What we do about it is perhaps where the point of departure starts. Now, sir, when CARICOM was conceived, actually, they didn't even start with CARICOM. The Honourable Prime Minister, sir, in an address to the nation recently outlined some historical facts that should give some people comfort. I have been hearing that this is a government agenda to boost voters. I've been hearing that there's a government agenda to sell citizenship. I've been hearing that this is a government agenda to financially benefit and profit individuals yet unnamed. I've heard all of that recently. I've heard that as recently as Saturday from a spokesperson, sir, of doom and gloom, one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, heralding, sir, nothing positive for Barbados. And what I noted with interest as I heard the wild accusations being leveled, I thought to myself, boy, whoever the person is mashing the crease. The person then caught themselves and said they will say no more on this. They were at the point of financial benefit to individuals, I think. And they said then they will say no more. They will say all they have to say when the debate comes up next week in Parliament, because they're protected while speaking in there from their words. Well, sir, I actually thought that if you're speaking truth, you don't need protection at all. I happen to know, sir, having practiced law for a number of years, that the best defense to defamation is truth. So if you're speaking the truth, you have nothing to fear in the realm of defamation. So it is instructive to me that someone would not say what they had to say from the back of a truck to the 74 people gathered in front of them, the same 74 that were on the last march and the march before that, that you could not take comfort in addressing those 74 people to say what you had to say. But you chose to wait with a threat of coming to divulge it all in Parliament today because you're protected in doing it from here. I can't wait, sir, to hear what it is. But that got my mind to thinking, what are you really quarreling about? What part of this is causing concern? Because free movement and regional institutions are nothing new. If we go back historically, sir, successive governments in Barbados, not the but successive governments in Barbados and leaders of Barbados, sir, have worked and struggled to pull the region together and embrace the concept of one region. Grantley Adams, sir, was instrumental in building out the West Indies Federation and was its first and only leader. The Right Honourable Errol Walton Barrow was a founder of Carifta and CARICOM. The Right Honourable Errol Walton Barrow was a founder of Carifta and CARICOM. CARICOM being the ultimate umbrella body in relation to the Caribbean as it stands now, and the Treaty of Chaguaramas, which emanates from CARICOM, being the defining treaties to govern our relationships between states in CARICOM. Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford, no less a person than Sir Lloyd Erskine Sandiford, was a signatory to the Grand Anse Declaration in 1989 that led to the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, that established the CARICOM single market and economy. Owen Arthur took up the reins and guided the single market into life. So Sir Lloyd signed for it, and Owen Arthur followed behind, not in a partisan, narrow-minded, political sabotaging mentality, but in recognizing the beauty of something that had meaning to us. He took up the charge initiated by his predecessor from the opposite side and went fully down the line until the current Prime Minister, sir. There has been no other Prime Minister more hell-bent on regional integration than Owen Arthur, than the late Owen Arthur. Sir, he brought the single market economy to life, and he led our entry into the CCGA. He was the Prime Minister when I was the President of the Bar and the President of the Organization Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Associations that were instrumental in bringing the CCGA into life. All of them knew. Everybody I mentioned so far knew and acknowledged that a small country like Barbados needed a regional integration movement for it to be able to stand strong and to do better for our people, sir. We, as a Caribbean unit, pulled together also, sir, for something special. All of our leaders pulled together for two of the signal achievements in the Caribbean. The establishment of University of the West Indies, which I spoke about, which we all bragged about, which the majority of us in here have come through and benefited and owe our professional lives, our qualification, our educational development to that, which this government, sir, has long held must be accessible and available free of cost to all Barbadians who qualify, which another government before us seemed intent on stripping away the access to the foundational developmental tools that we fought so hard for by making students pay tuition fees. The ethos, sir, of the recent governments, the last one before this one and this one, could not be starker than night and day. We are intent on seeing our regional institutions succeed. We are intent on seeing the dream come to fruition. We are intent on realizing our maximum potential as a people of common lineage, common geographical space, and common abilities. While those in waiting appear to be embracing the mandate of the former set to destroy it all. Sir, if I talk about regional integration, where we all sit as one, where we all rally behind each other, we need look no further than the West Indies cricket team. I am slightly hesitant, sir, to mention them because we've not been doing too well recently. But I remember the days, sir, when my father used to pull me out of school. If the West Indians were playing a test in Barbados, my father, who believed a child should never miss school, if I was coughing, sir, wheezing, my father insisted I went to school. I couldn't miss a day of school, but cricket was different. I had to come and see the West Indies. I had to be proud as we did well. I had to be there to witness history and watch as we beat the superpowers in the world. When we all came together and pulled in one direction. I remember, sir, crawling under the Greenwich and Haynes stand. So I used to be able to get under, and then come out in front and climb over the. So, but however, sir, at the time when I did that, I was below the age of criminal responsibility and could not have been charged and could possess no criminal intent. I was.
I remember you stole the way.
I was a child, sir, eager to see my heroes. And I did what was necessary. But sir, the point I'm making, sir, is that without thinking, we have held to these things. And we've wanted to see, without thinking, the development and the fruition to maximum potential. Now, sir, let's contrast that. I was speaking history just now and creating a background. Let's contrast that, sir. In 2008, after the government of one of the Caribbean's foremost regionalists, Owen Arthur, when the opposition now became the government then, came into power in 2008, so let's talk historically. Let us see the difference in the ethos. You remember the days of ever so welcome, wait for call? That was their answer to our Caribbean brothers and sisters. You are welcome to come here, but don't pick up and come of your own initiative. Wait until we call you. What was the first move by that government in 2008? Upon assuming the reins of power, the first move was to send back all, round up all the non-nationals, round up all our brothers and sisters from the same St. Vincent, from the same Dominica, from the same Belize, and send them all back home. Say, wait out there until we call you back. That was move number one, to purge Barbados of anybody who is not Barbadian. That should have been the signal. And we are still reeling from that. You only have to pass through the city. Up to 2008, the city, out Fairchild Street, Nelson Street, all the environs of the city was bustling. You could go down there and get a food late at night. They had activity in the city. Bridgetown was populated because people were in the city up to late. Nightclubs in the city. Restaurants in the city. No. Sir, we have not recovered from 2008. And you always look, sir, you start the way you intend to finish. How did they finish? The last act of the Democratic Labour Party in 2018, the last act was to try to block the same Caribbean people and CARICOM nationals from voting. When they had the right under the law to do it, they started by kicking all out and ended by trying to block the vote from the same people, even the ones who were here legally. They tried to block the vote from it. That case, I know, because the person who filed the case against the government was me. And we had hell trying to find somebody willing to stand as a claimant because everybody was afraid of victimization by that government. All non-nationals were afraid. They did not want to step forward and say that the Dems unfair we. Some brave people, a couple of professionals, a professor from UE, some brave people step forward and say, you know what? I can stand in the breach. I will be that person to push for what is right. We got the judgment, sir, and the appeal. We got the judgment on appeal, and then they went to the CCJ. They didn't just fight it, they fought it tooth and nail all the way up to the last court in the land because they believed that this case would not be heard before the elections. That's why the election was, people want to know why the polls closed late 2018. The polls closed late 2018 because even after getting the judgment, and the CCJ is saying, you're misinterpreting the law, these people have a right to vote, they still block them from going on to the voters list, such that the elections had to be prolonged to allow persons, the late registrants, to be able to vote. That is the last act they did, a last act of spite. I, sir, am not even surprised based on that historical precedent of the position now being taken by that side. I'm not surprised. The argument I hear was that we ain't had jurisdiction to do it, we ain't had a legal basis to do it. We here correcting any missteps, if there were any, but we're here making wrong things right. We're here putting it in line, putting all the ducks in a row. We are here clarifying everything, but you're objecting to the bill. What is the point? We're hearing, sir, objections and theories. Actually, sir, I'm not going to touch other legislation that's not before the chamber. I am simply saying, sir, you're either on board with regionalism and the movement towards free movement, or you are not. It can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Sir, I've heard a ton of people, a flood of people coming in to take your jobs. People coming in to take your jobs. Be careful, they're coming in to take your jobs. I think on the 1st of October, we had probably 10 people from those countries arriving in Barbados. About 10. I think up to now, sir, the deluge hasn't happened. That's the reality. We printed out a fact sheet saying this is what you need to do to avail yourself. I'm going to make it a document house, sir. This is what you need to do to avail yourself of full free movement. So people won't be confused when they come in. They know how to proceed, how to get the benefits, where they need to register and for what. I went on there myself. And I heard comment on why I went on there. I went on there myself. You want to know what? Why? Because sir, I'm the minister responsible for immigration. And I like to check and see what is happening. I like to verify that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. I like to be on hand so people can ask questions and have the questions answered. I went on there, sir, because that falls under my ministry, and that is what a responsible minister should do. We are changing a regime. I would have been derelict had I not taken the opportunity to go down there and speak to some people. I went with the press. I bought the press there, but I could tell you I didn't call them. The press was there to find out who was coming through. They wanted to catch a couple people coming through the doors to ask them how was their experience. But I went on there with my one self. I advised the chief immigration officer, right? I advised my PS, and I went down, and the shift leader, and I went down to talk to the people on the shift. And everybody seemed comfortable with the process. Now, sir, as I said, this is the sheet that's given to all what we call nationals. So nationals of the states who are involved in the full free movement in Barbados. And it has points, sir, 1 to 12. We condense this into 1 to 12. And with your leave, sir, I'm going to read it in because, as I say, I plan to make it a documenting house. But I want all of Barbados to hear and understand the simplified version. 1, all nationals from the 4 participating member states must present a valid CARICOM passport upon arrival at the port of entry. Non-CARICOM spouses and dependents are required to provide appropriate documentation to verify their relationship with the CARICOM national. Simple. 2, Nationals entering Barbados can do so on a one-way ticket. No return ticket is necessary. No, sir, we used to have a requirement for a return ticket because you used to be granted a 6-month stay if you're a CARICOM national coming in. We do not require you to have a return ticket. 3, upon arrival at the designated port of entry, you should be granted indefinite stay status. This stay will be communicated digitally to all relevant agencies. Barbados does not stamp passports on entry. Now, sir, I heard all of the things that this legislation is going to do. And I wish to pause at 3 to clarify some things. When somebody comes into Barbados, if you are a national from CARICOM, you get a 6-month entry. All that has changed now is that you now don't have to leave after 6 months. If you want to stay on longer, if you want to come and go away, come back, you can do so. You are free to do so without hassle. You don't have to apply for an extension, you ain't got to apply for nothing else. You are granted indefinite stay to come and go as you please. Sir, if you wish to work, let me get to 4. If having been granted indefinite stay at the port of entry, you opt to exercise your right to full free movement regime to reside indefinitely and or work in Barbados, you will be required to register with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. This is to be done online at labour.gov.bb or etc. But you register, if you want to stay on, if you intend to make Barbados your home, you have to register with the Labour Department. If you want to work, you have to register with the Labour Department. For those persons who were here before, so if you were in Barbados before the 1st of October 2025, that's 5, and have already been granted some form of status by the Immigration Department, you're entitled to claim the indefinite stay status. You need to register with the Ministry of Labour as outlined in 4 above. The practical term, sir, is that the Ministry of Labour is sending persons to immigration just to verify, because the Ministry of Labour will not know if there's an issue with you, will not know if there's something preventing you. We can do the checks because, sir, we verify everybody else, everybody coming into Barbados. So in terms of the hullabaloo, and we're encouraging criminals and persons seeking asylum and trying to flee their countries coming into Barbados, sir, the exact same criteria for entry into Barbados that existed before October the 1st still exists now. If you're coming into Barbados and you're flagged by JRCC or IMPACTS or even Interpol as being an undesirable person or a prohibited person or whatnot, you cannot enter Barbados, don't care what passport you have. So you still need to get all of the checks and balances that existed prior to October the 1st still exist now. Every single one. The only difference is when you come in, instead of having to leave in 6 months, you can stay indefinitely. Or when you come in and you want to work, you can go and register to work. Now, the registration to work, sir, is because we need to know who's actually working in Barbados. We have a job, a skills registry. We're doing a lot of other things to streamline our processes and collect information. We need to ensure people register for NIS because there's also portability of certain benefits. If you have worked in St. Vincent your whole life and you paid into pension there and you leave and come to Barbados, your benefits can transfer to Barbados. They can as it stands now. But we also need to just verify who's coming, what skill sets do we have. The government needs to be able to plan. The persons must be here, they must pay NIS, they must pay income tax, they must do all it is that they're supposed to do. And in respect, I've heard some professionals being concerned, sir, as to the persons coming in might be unqualified to practice the profession that they practice in other countries and practice it in Barbados. That does not arise. The persons coming to work do so under the same terms and conditions of a Barbadian in Barbados. If I am a lawyer, I have every year to renew my practicing certificate, and I have to pass the bar. If somebody is coming now as a skilled national from overseas, and they come and they want to work in Barbados, they have to be called to the bar in Barbados. It is a requirement. You have to be called to the bar, and you have to have a practicing certificate. This does not remove that. I don't know how much clearer I can make it. If you are a doctor and you want to work in Barbados by the full free movement, you have to satisfy all the requirements for being a doctor. If your degree is one that is not recognized by BAMP, or your qualification is one that's not recognized by, it don't matter that you practice in St. Vincent as a cardiothoracic surgeon. If you come here and BAMP does not recognize that, you can't practice in Barbados as a cardiothoracic surgeon. You can come and live, you can come and do something else. You can come and practice as a GP if we accept that qualification. But all of the requirements for working in Barbados that Bajans have to do, all the boxes we have to tick, the persons coming in, the nationals, the free-moving nationals, have to tick those as well, sir. In the event an incoming national is accompanied by one or more minor dependents and proposes to access public or secondary education, the minors need to be registered with the Ministry of Education Transformation, and required documents, a valid ID, passport, national ID or birth certificate, academic records, report cards, ... Common sense things. You come into the school system, we don't know you. So you register with the Ministry of Education so they can ensure you go to the right school. So they can ensure that they know what class to put you in. So you are not disadvantaged, and the people who are teaching you are not disadvantaged either. 7, incoming nationals who opt to reside indefinitely in Barbados will be entitled to register for and receive a national ID card. And it is this card that they will use to access emergency and primary health care services in Barbados public health care system. So you got to get an ID card. Now, I also heard that we are trying to flood people in here to get them IDs so they can vote. Sir, under the legislation that governs registration of voters, it's trite law. It is trite. We went through this with the case in 2018. All Commonwealth nationals who reside in Barbados for a period of 3 years or more, and not a resident, like a permanent resident, residing is a matter of fact. All who have resided in Barbados for 3 years or more are entitled to vote. Commonwealth nationals also includes the bulk of the Caribbean and most of the people under CARICOM scale national status. So as it stands now, the bulk of CARICOM, if they came to Barbados and they lived for 3 years, they can vote. Nothing has changed. The one thing is the Treaty of Chaguaramas contemplates and recognizes contingent rights. So the rights that accrue to me will accrue to my spouse or my dependents. So if my spouse, the actual amendment, sir, sticks in the registration of people, the registration act, that full free moving nationals. You ask, why would we put that in if CARICOM persons can already qualify to vote? Because I might be coming with my wife, who is not a national, but my wife will be entitled to stay with me here in Barbados, and after 3 years, the law recognizes she's been here for 3 years, working, paying taxes, whatnot, that person is entitled to vote as well. That's the only reason that that actual section was amended. We're not reducing the time to qualify for voting. It's not anybody be able to vote after 6 months. Sir, I listened to some of the objections and I thought to myself, do the persons reading this understand law? Or even more basic, is the person reading this understanding English? The amendments and the legislation, sir, are so simply drafted. They're uncomplicated. This should properly, sir, have been one of the shortest debates we ever had. But out of the abundance of caution, it is necessary, sir, to correct some wrong directioning in the hope that the person who has been veering so far off course sees the light and turns his ship around before he crashes into a rock. Whoever that person is, not singling on anybody, sir. Sir, common sense again. 8, nationals are advised to bring their complete medical records to support the seamless continuity of healthcare services and to ensure that they receive appropriate medical care. 9, Incoming nationals, I already spilled this one, sir. But incoming nationals who propose to work in Barbados will be required to register with the NISS to become participants and contributors in the National Social Security Program. This will be necessary if incoming nationals are to be able to benefit from transfer benefits that they've already secured for themselves in the NISS of other Caribbean member states. And the ID card is required for registration with
Point
the
of order,
NISS.
sir. I'm wondering,
Brace yourself.
we like to be courteous towards each other, and you like that. And I'm wondering if, while the member is referring to a document, is it the proper thing to do to share it with us? I know he promised to make it a document of the House, but he is making it, he is placing it at the center of his presentation. And if not, it probably is the courteous thing to do to let us have sight of it so that I don't have to remember what the honourable member says. I think he's doing that now. And I thank him for the courtesy, Your Honour, at my insistence. Thank you, sir.
Sir, my humblest apologies to the chamber. Sir, I am glad the honourable member raised it because, sir, I was hesitant to offer him before I finished because the last time I offered him my hand, he ignored it in front of people and turned away. So I didn't think that if he did not have the courtesy to accept my hand in public, that he would accept a document from me. But, sir, we send the document. What I will do, sir, it is not customary, but, sir, I will actually pause for a minute just to allow the honourable member.
Him to atone for his sin of discourtesy.
Honourable member was the point.
He can press on.
Honourable member was the point of order. There's no point of order. Continue, honourable member Christ Jesus.
I actually realize, sir, is the refusal is actually a trend because I saw it caught on camera that another operative of that side, sir, refused the hand of the Prime Minister offered to her following the St. James by-election. That was caught on camera, and I could not believe, sir, that that was what is going around now and being accepted as common courtesy, but I guess they're following the example of their leader. Anyway, sir.
Continue, honourable member.
Sir, 10, incoming nationals who possess valid driver's licenses for any of the 4 participating member states will be entitled to use the said driver's license in Barbados for 1 year or until the expiration of that license if sooner. Thereafter, the national must apply for a Barbados driver's license. The point of that, sir, is, you know, if people coming in and we accepting that you have free movement, right now visitors are able to drive in Barbados on their own national ID. So an American coming into Barbados can now drive on his ID. So it is common sense, sir, to extend this courtesy to those with whom we're trying to have a symbiotic relationship, sir. The non-national, 11. The non-national spouses and dependents of an incoming national will have the right to indefinite reside and, where relevant, work in Barbados without the need of residency or work permit. They must, however, comply with all requirements applicable to the principal national. So all that the national has to do, those who are claiming under him have to do as well. And 12, all incoming nationals who choose to reside or work in Barbados be entitled to import their tools of trade. And these items must be imported within 6 months of registering with the Ministry of Labour and National Security. Sir, all of these benefits and obligations are reciprocal. So all of what I have read applies pretty much across the board in the other contributing territories, the other national states, with one exception. Whereas in Barbados, sir, you're not required to have a return ticket because there are no direct flights to Belize, and all travel to Belize is routed through somewhere else that requires a return ticket, even to transit through. Belize is the only one that requires residents to have a return ticket. Now, sir, if I go straight to the actual legislation itself, what does the legislation say? What does it purport to do? Clause 1, sir, provides the short title for the bill. And the bill is the Caribbean Community Free Movement of Nationals Bill 2025. Clause 2 is the definition clause, and, well, that's self-explanatory. Sir, Clause 3 allows for an immigration officer to grant nationals of Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines and their dependents, referred to Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent, referred to as freely moving nationals, permission to remain in Barbados indefinitely, notwithstanding Section 13 of the Immigration Act, which provides for specific periods of stay. Entry into Barbados and the right to remain, however, is subject to general considerations relating to national security and public health in that act. And the clause also makes it clear that there's no need for freely moving nationals to satisfy the requirements of the Skilled Nationals Act. Sir, as I said, everybody coming into Barbados has to qualify in the exact same way that you did before. The benefits accrue after you pass through, after you've been landed, that's the term we use, after you've been landed in Barbados, allowed entry, that's when the benefits crystallize. But you can't be allowed entry if you offend any of the requirements for entry into Barbados. And those remain, sir. A country has the legal right to refuse entry to anybody based on national security concerns, public health concerns, and we also have, sir, in relation to persons who might find themselves a charge on the public purse. So if you come into Barbados and you would legitimately have been expected to pass through on vacation or whatnot, and you have sufficient to stay here, then you come. If you wish to stay longer, you stay longer. If you wish to reside, then you do what you have to do. If you come to Barbados and the immigration officers suspect that you cannot actually sustain yourself in Barbados, right, as they do now, you will not be allowed entry into Barbados. That, sir, is Clause 3. Clause 4, this one is in relation to discharging members of the crew of a vessel who are freely moving nationals without having to satisfy themselves that the nationals have made arrangements to ensure they will not become a charge on public funds. So if people come off of a ship, sir, they're allowed to come in the exact same way. 5, provides for, this is Clause 5, provides for freely moving nationals to be engaged or employed in Barbados without the need for work permit. I already dealt with that, sir. 6, that's the one that codifies, sir, in relation to the issue of the driver's license, that you can use your national license for up to 12 months. 7, empowers the minister to amend the schedule to the bill which lists the member states to which the bill applies. And this clause would, sir, allow for other member states of the Caribbean community to be included where necessary. So rather than because we only have the first 4 states, so Barbados plus 3 others. So rather than put the other 3 persons into the act, which would then require, if, for example, Trinidad came on board, that we have to amend the act to include Trinidad. We put it in the schedule, which can be amended by order. So there's no need to go back to amendments into the act. Clause 8 provides for the minister to make regulations under the bill should the need arise. Clause 9, sir, amends the Representation of People Act. This, sir, directly addresses the concerns that I've heard in some quarters about us bringing these people in to pad the voters list and to allow people to vote and pervert the course of the elections, which, for the record, I say is nonsense. Clause 9 amends the Representation of the People Act, Cap 12, to make it clear that freely moving nationals may vote in Barbados after residing in Barbados for 3 years. After residing in Barbados for 3 years is not open to interpretation. It is there. While the 3 member states listed and scheduled to the bill are also members of the Commonwealth, and citizens of the Commonwealth countries are currently allowed to vote under the Act, this amendment is necessary to allow dependents who are not citizens of the Commonwealth countries to vote as well. And for the avoidance of doubt, to vote as well after residing in Barbados for 3 years. Clause 10, sir, amends the Barbados Identity Management Act 2021 to require freely moving nationals who intend to remain in Barbados indefinitely to register under the Act and to obtain a Barbados identification card. And Clause 11 provides for the bill once passed to deem to come into operation on the 1st of October 2025. Now, so I just wish to say something in relation to that. It may surprise people to know that the OECS region operates administratively for the most part. A number of the OECS countries have not enshrined the benefits and obligations of the OECS into their own domestic legislation. They have managed that regime administratively. What does that mean? That when they decided to do it, they just simply stopped prosecuting people for what would otherwise have been in breach of the ethos. We could have taken the option of doing the exact same thing. We said, you know what? To avoid confusion and to avoid persons who may deliberately misdirect themselves as to what this whole thing means, let us codify it and put it in legislation. Let us seek out all of the things that are touched and concerned by the free movement regime and make the corrections or clarifications or codifications as necessary. And that's what we did there. Now, in relation to the argument by persons, I keep saying persons when I actually mean person, but I'll be general, sir. Specifically in relation to the comments by persons that we had no right to allow people indefinite stay in Barbados from the 1st of October. The Immigration Act, Cap 190, Section 13(1)(b). I'm giving the actual section, Section 13(1)(b). It allows for CARICOM nationals to get 6 months entry on arriving at the airport. It allows for them to get 6 months entry. Sir, at one point in time, that section was challenged because I think it was up to 6 months or a maximum of 6 months. And in Shanique Murray case, if you remember, the argument was that up to 6 months could also mean 0. And after the court made its ruling, across the board, the Immigration Department applied the philosophy, and in accordance with the direction of the court, that CARICOM nationals coming in should get 6 months. So we didn't go a maximum of 6 months anymore, we went 6 months. So your allocated entry into Barbados is 6 months. If you wish to leave before that, you're free to do so. If you wish to stay longer, then you apply for an extension and you get the extension or whatnot. Section 13(7). Without limiting or affecting the operation of this section, the minister may grant to a person special permission to remain in Barbados on such terms and conditions as he thinks fit. The Immigration Department, sir, was involved at all steps of the way. I had numerous meetings with the Immigration Department. They knew what we were aiming to do on the 1st of October. They had suggestions as to how we should manage it. They had suggestions of what should happen at the airport. They even made input, sir, into the same document I read from, which was at the airport the day before. Now, sir, in accordance with that section, I formally wrote to and sent an email to the Chief Immigration Officer advising her that effective immediately, all nationals of the listed states are entitled to enter Barbados and be afforded an indefinite stay on entry into Barbados. And that must be reflected in all immigration records. That was sent the morning of the 1st before any plane landed. So when the first person landed in Barbados, that directive had been communicated, and the Chief Immigration Officer confirmed, because we spoke on it, that she had received it, Minister, and we will act in accordance with your direction. So, sir, I have spoken thus much to assure the public of Barbados there's no subterfuge. We're not trying to pervert anything. We're not trying to get anything by surreptitious means. This government is simply doing what other governments and regions have done before, advancing the cause of free movement, moving towards some kind of social unity that benefits all in the Caribbean. And Barbados is a country, one of the countries that stands to benefit the most. We need people in Barbados. We need to increase the skill sets in Barbados rather than looking beyond to people who don't necessarily look like us. and who don't have the same background to us, our first feed of stock should come from those closest to us with whom we share a similar experience. Sir, I spoke to the Minister of Labour, and I've also spoken to the Minister responsible for infrastructure, the Senior Minister responsible for infrastructure. A vast number of workers in the construction sector, the skilled persons, the artisans, the carpenters, the masons, come from St. Vincent, come from Guyana, come from in the Caribbean. We have already recognized the deficit in Barbados, the labor deficit, where that is concerned. And those persons have been seamlessly integrated. They came as skilled nationals. In some instances, some of them came on work permits before the skilled national regime, but they came as skilled nationals. We are now saying, you need to jump through more hoops. If you are working in St. Vincent and you think you can play your trade here, or there's a need for you, or you respond to advertisement and you're accepted, then come. Sir, there's a story of a boy who cried wolf. And he cried wolf so often and so hard and so long that it began to annoy everybody. And he became the nuisance that kept crying wolf. So that when there was actually a need, when a wolf actually arrived on his doorstep, nobody took him on because he raised the alarm too often without merit. Sir, we ain't getting a flood of people coming in. And if you think about it, sir, when persons look to leave a country, they have a plan. If I'm looking to leave to go and find work somewhere else, Chancellor, I would have done an interview, I would have put an application, somebody is interested in me. I have a plan and I go, I know where I'm going to stay. It's the same way people coming here, the questions also being raised, what does this mean in relation to the housing stock and whatnot? So the government is obliged to find housing for Bajans. The benefits that accrue to free-moving nationals are the right to come in and remain indefinitely, the right to work without a work permit, so the right to educate your children without a student visa, and the ability to get primary medical care and emergency medical care. We ain't saying nothing about housing. Most of the people who come in to work in Barbados from the CARICOM come in and rent. They used to rent in and around the city before it was purged. They used to spend money in the shops before they were handcuffed and asked to leave. They used to participate in national activities before they were bundled up and escorted out. We are here trying, sir, to protect Barbados, protect our way of life, enhance the competitiveness of our country, and to grow our economy. And this, sir, is but one other step in that process. Let us make the ability for our friends and co-nationals from other Caribbean territories able to come to Barbados with the minimum of effort and to play the trade or to live here. Let us make it seamless for Bajans who seek that opportunity abroad to be able to get on a plane, get on a boat, go and play their trade somewhere else. You might not want to go and work and live indefinitely in another Caribbean territory, but I might have products that I wish to sell. I might manufacture something. I might have a concept that I'm trying to develop. I should be free to hop on a plane and go and try to have my idea or my products or my services recognized by somebody else. It is reciprocal. We can do it too. But you know what, sir? Anything that appears to be advancing the cause of Barbados or Barbadians seems to be a threat to the boy who cried wolf. Anything, sir, that seems to be a good idea that may gain traction, and that might make people say, you know what, this government is actually doing well, the government is on the right track. It appears to be a threat to the man who cried wolf. Sir, despite the cries of wolf, we firmly believe that we are doing a good thing. We're on the right path. This legislation, sir, contains no mysteries. It contains no menaces. And it's simply codifying what will make this system work more efficiently and to the benefit of all the participating nationals and all the participating states. Sir, I have read it, reread it, I had a hand in drafting it, and I am comfortable to commend it to this chamber. I here, sir, beg that this be read a second time. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Christchurch South.
I'm obliged to you. I'm obliged to you, Mr. Speaker. And I normally exercise the good courtesy of saying good morning to all parliamentary colleagues. And I intend to include the Honourable Member for St. George South. I'm very happy at his presence with us this morning with his new neighbour.